Hello, and welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven. I'm the Sprite Raven. I'm your host, and I'm a little bit under the weather. Just before the show, I had a choking incident. So, luckily, I have my co host with me, Chris Hall, who's going to go ahead and speak.
I'm going to do a lot of the speaking duties today. So,
how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm here. Yeah. Just I swallowed the food and it like split and went down both at the same time, and I managed to pop it back out and stuff, but it's not fun experience.
Yep. Just so you know, folks, it was broccoli. So, lesson learned, broccoli isn't good for anybody.
He's trying to make me cough up blood laughing tonight, I tell him. And we're also
there's our other co-host, John.
Yes. Are you there, John?
I think so.
Yes, okay. You're there. Alrighty.
Well, I could, you hadn't said anything. Okay. Yeah, I apologize for not giving my usual long-winded speeches when I open up the show. I just don't have it tonight for what.
Don't have it in them.
But it is Friday night. It's movie night. We're doing a science fiction double feature. Now,
Which was hard enough to swallow.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, John.
We're talking about mutiny in outer space and human duplicators. If I can just get this stupid. We're talking about mutiny in outer space and human duplicators. What was that?
That was my phone. Sorry. I took care of it now.
Okay. You guys wanting to put everything on the phone and the TV at the same time. All right, Chris.
All right. The first movie is The Human Duplicators, made in 1964, directed by Hugo Grimaldi, uncredited Arthur C. Pierce, written by Arthur C. Pierce, produced by Hugo Grimaldi and Arthur C. Pierce, starring George Nader, Dolores Faith, George McCready, Barbara Nichols, Richard Arlen, Richard Keel, Hugh Beaumont, Ted Durant, Walter Abel, John Indrasano. Edited by Donald Wolfe and distributed by Woolner Brother Pictures, Incorporated. Release date was March 3rd, 1965. A running time of 80 whole minutes. Budget, $140,000. Box office, we don't know because I don't think there's any info on that. So, all right, what it's about. Border spacecraft heading towards Earth. The head of the Intergalactic Council, Ted Durant, briefs Dr. Kolos, Richard Keel, a giant, and I mean giant, humanoid alien, on his part to expand our galaxy domination program. If Kolos succeeds, human duplicates, androids, will begin taking over. If he fails, he will be destroyed. After arriving via teletransporter at the mansion of Dr. Vaughn, is it Dr. Von Dornheimer? I believe it is, yes. George McCready. Kolos encounters a Dornheimer's blind niece, Lisa, Dolores Faith. Not realizing that he's an extraterrestrial, she takes Kolos to Dornheimer's laboratory. Kolos tells Dornheimer that together they will develop the sophisticated androids that Dornheimer is unable to create on his own. Dornheimer refuses, but Kolos makes it clear that he is now the master, and he will be obeyed. The police, meanwhile, are stymied by multiple thefts from high-security electronics facilities, apparently perpetrated by the top scientists who work at them. Most baffling of all is Dr. Munson, Walter Abel. After being admitted to his facility, he tears security off its hinges with his bare hands and kills a guard. Then he ignores shouted warnings to halt by a second guard who shoots him 4 times in the back. Munson neither flinches nor bleeds. He just gets into his car and calmly drives off as if nothing unusual has happened. He's an android, although the police don't know it. Glenn Martin, George Nader, the National Security Intelligence Agency, NIA, takes over the case. Glenn fails to find out anything by posing as a reporter, although he meets Lisa. He later sneaks into Dornheimer's lab and witnesses human duplication. Lisa tells him that Dornheimer has been replaced by an android. As she leaves, Glenn is attacked by an android version of Dornheimer's servant Thor, John Androsano. In the ensuing fight, Glenn smashes the android Thor's head, destroying him. Kolos hauls Glenn off to be duplicated. After duplication, Android Glenn returns to NIA headquarters, where Gail Wilson Nichols, Glenn's girlfriend and fellow agent, notices his oddly cold behavior. She suspects Glenn is an android and decides to tail him. Android Glenn goes to a facility to steal additional electronics. He's interrupted by Gale, then gets into a gunfight with the police, during which his arm is trapped in a sliding door. When the police yank the door open, expecting to arrest the real Glenn, all they find is Android Glenn's arm. He has torn it off and escaped. The real Glenn is locked in a cell with the real Dornheimer. Lisa brings Glenn his lucky coin, which contains a wire that he can use to cut through the cell's bars. She is then dragged away by 2 android lab assistants. As he saws the bars, the real Dornheimer tells him that he can destroy the androids by zapping their heads with the lab's pulse beam laser. Or pulse laser beam, sorry, a little bit, yeah. When Kolos refuses to turn Lisa into an android, Android Dornheimer unexpectedly proclaims himself head of the android master race and has Kolos chained to a wall by the half-dozen android Thors it takes to overpower him, then begins the process of duplicating Lisa. But suddenly, Android Glenn returns, interrupting the duplication. Still loyal to Kolos, Android Glenn refuses to accept Android Dornheimer as master. They fight, destroying each other. The real Glenn zaps the remaining androids as Kolos breaks free of his chains. After the androids have been destroyed, Kolos gently places the unconscious Lisa on a sofa. Her eyelids flutter open. She puts a hand to the corner of one eye and smiles. Kolos says that his mission has failed, and sadly, he has learned that he, too, is an android. He teletransports back aboard the spaceship, presumably to meet his doom at the hand of the Intergalactic Council. And the Earth is, well, it sure as hell isn't safe. Who is this Intergalactic Council, and will humanity be prepared for the next fiendish endeavor to take over the world?
What did I think? Holy hilarity! I don't know what was worse. The wishy-washy writing that had so many bad tropes in it, or the acting of the cast. At least it was funny, albeit unintentionally. The relationship between agents Glenn Martin and Gail Wilson was absolutely preposterous, and they're over-the-top flirting with one another, written very much in that 60s style of writing where women are supposedly lesser than men, even though the film is still kind of winking at the audience that they know Wilson is more than competent. It just makes both actors seem foolish, especially the idiotic scene where Wilson is sunbathing by a pool with her dog, and a phone is set at her side to answer when Glenn is calling from a phone booth. That whole scene was howlingly bad. The plot, what there is of one, was very straightforward. Richard Keel's character would have been a lot better if they had shown him as an extraterrestrial with abilities, like maybe mental control or something, that allowed him to take over the doctor and his lab techs rather than just walking up slowly and physically intimidating them. Make him something, unique. There are some important historical notes about the movie. Allegedly, this was the first double feature film in a color film ever. I don't believe that, but that's the Wikipedia said. So I'm like, well, I don't know about that. But anyway, it was doubled with the other film we're going to be reviewing, Mutiny in Space, but that one's in black and white. So go figure. I don't know what they were trying to say. This was Hugh Beaumont's final picture before retiring from acting. Hugh Beaumont was best known for working in My Three Sons, the TV series.
And leave it to Beaver.
And Leave It to Beaver, yes, thank you. Anyway, Keel was brought in to play the role of Dr. Kolos because of his performance in the classic 1962 Twilight Zone episode To Serve Man. However, originally, the part was going to go to someone much more normal looking, one Leonard Nimoy,
Oh.
who ultimately did not like the script and decided to decline the role at the last minute. Why? Because he decided to take on a role for some other weirdo show. I think it was called Wagon Train to the Stars. Wink. It's a serviceable enough movie. It just could have been better written, especially for the women's roles. We all gave it 3 stars.
Yep.
And one more note, this is a film that was featured on both Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Elvira's Macabre Movie Show, mocked massively on both, early on in both shows' runs. So I guess it was a beloved science fiction film in some circles in some ways, right?
Right.
There is one more thing. If he shot the pulse laser range and killed all the androids, yet Kolos is an android, why didn't he die?
Because he had plot armor.
Mm-hmm. It was like gold. It was like golden plot armor on his wearing.
Right? Yeah. Everybody. Not most people don't know about plot armor.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, we gave it a 3 out of 5. The next film.
The next film is Mutiny in Outer Space, 1964. Directed by also Hugo Grimaldi, uncredited Arthur C. Pierce. Written by Arthur C. Pierce. Produced by Hugo Grimaldi, Arthur C. Pierce. Bernard Woolner, David Woolner, Lawrence Woolner, and I guess the rest of the damn Woolner family. Starring William Leslie, Dolores Faith, Pamela Curran, Richard Garland, Harold Lloyd Jr., James Dobson, Ron Stokes, Francine York, and more. This was edited by George White, distributed by Warner Brother Pictures Incorporated. Release date was March 3rd, 1965, with a running time of 82 minutes. Budget was $90,000. That's $992,000 in today's money. In box office, we don't know.
Yeah, they didn't have any box office information on that stuff. But there you go.
All right, so what it's about. Major Gordon Towers and Captain Dan Weber are returning to Space Station X7 after collecting geological samples and ice from newly discovered ice caves on the moon. Don't they ever learn? Upon arrival, Dan collapses and is taken to the infirmary by Dr. Hoffman, and Gordon is reunited with his girlfriend, Dr. Faith Montaigne, a civilian biochemist. Hoffman has difficulty diagnosing Dan, ruling out space raptures because they cause hallucinations and not the high fever that Dan is running. Faith notices that a small welt on Dan's leg is growing rapidly into a large fungus. She says that the spores causing the fungus must have come from the moon's ice caves. Of course. They put Dan into isolation. Meanwhile, the commander of X7, Colonel Frank Cromwell, is behaving oddly. A swarm of meteors approaches the space station. Cromwell is unable to give the order to take evasive action until prodded to do so by X7's communications officer, Lieutenant Connie Engstrom. Dan dies, his body horribly disfigured by the fungus. But when Cromwell looks at the body in the isolation chamber, he calmly says, "Well, there's nothing unusual here," and refuses to report it to General Nolan at Earth Control Center. But the fungus has killed Dan. He insists that Dan's demise was caused by pressure shock and warns Gordon, Faith, and Hoffman to say nothing about the fungus because it might panic X7's crew. Hoffman says that Cromwell is on the verge of space raptures and very sick. Gordon decides that the situation is serious enough to remove Cromwell from command, but Gordon fails in his attempt, which Cromwell says is mutiny. Cromwell orders Connie to send a message to Nolan about the mutiny and to say in it that Gordon held the crew at gunpoint until he was overpowered Connie seemingly agrees, but Cromwell does not know that she has surreptitiously recorded the order. She transmits it to Nolan, who is immediately aware that something is amiss because weapons were outlawed in space in 1970, more than 20 years earlier.
Why were the weapons outlawed in space? I mean, other than the fact that shooting up your environment might lead to space decompression. I mean, it's actually a good scientific point. But what's funny about it is it was banned in 1970. I realize this film was made in 1964, and we're like in 1990, 20 years earlier.
Right.
It's still funny now, But go ahead.
Connie also reports that the entire space station is being overrun by the fungus. Nolan tries to reply to X7 but gets no response. He says that X7 may have to be destroyed to prevent the fungus from reaching Earth. Hoffman contracts the fungal infection and is very ill. However, he is able to tell Faith and Gordon that the fungus can be killed by cold. Knowing this, Gordon and the others make a second attempt to take control of X7. Besides the danger from the fungus, Cromwell, now fully in the grips of space raptures, is trying to destroy the base. They confine Cromwell to his quarters, but he escapes and sabotages the communication system, cutting off all contact between X7 and Earth. He is then recaptured. Gordon knows that the only hope of saving X7 is to lower its interior temperature to below 0 degrees. The fungus inside X7 dies, but it is now growing on the outside of the space station. Oh no! No one can understand why the fungus is spreading on X7's exterior until one of Nolan's staff officers says that it must be due to the high temperatures generated by the unshielded sun. A blazing sun, by the way. Beating down on the station, this gives Nolan the idea of launching a rocket that will explode and form a huge cloud of ice crystals for X7 to pass through. Nolan's idea works and the fungus on the exterior of X7 is killed. Gordon uses the repaired communication system to request a relief ship. Nolan tells him that it will arrive at X7 in 3 hours and concludes his message by saying, "Don't lose your faith." Faith and Gordon look at each other and smile now that the crisis is over.
The story here was, in my opinion, better conceived than the Human Duplicators, with more realistic science base and fewer plot holes, though there were still plenty to be had. However, it is pretty self-evident that this movie's plot was ripped off of the Outer Limits episode Specimen Unknown from season 1, episode 22, which aired on February 24th, 1964, and the script and production for this movie was literally done inside of a week, starting on March 18th, 1964, as the additional add-on feature to the Human Duplicators. The cast has its good and bad elements. Richard Garland gives up good performance as Cromwell and really takes center stage, but the rest of the cast just comes across as overworked and presumably underpaid, and it shows, as many of these cast members were also in the lead feature, Human Duplicators, and these films were filmed back-to-back or simultaneously. Maybe that's why, as attractive as Dolores Faith is, she's just not particularly memorable as an actress based on the performances given in these two films. Some say she didn't get much work elsewhere because she looked too much like Elizabeth Taylor, and I could sort of see a similar advantage between them, but let's face it, she doesn't have anywhere near the kind of range that Taylor had either. The story conclusion with the ice cloud killing the fungus was sort of lame, in my opinion. The sun's radiation may have fed it, but the temperature of space is colder than the interior of the space station, I'm sorry to say. So no, that was not correct science. I would have actually reversed it and said heat would kill the fungus, driven the temperature up into the station up past 120, 130 desert-like conditions, like what I'm used to when I lived out west in Nevada, which is survivable by humans, but not necessarily by the fungus. It would probably dehydrate the fungus and kill it. Then the risk would have been to move the station closer to the sun, risking radiation getting through the station's shielding or being sucked into the sun's gravity well or something. That would have made more sense, in my opinion. But I want to be fair to the writers, seeing as they kind of ripped it off of the Outer Limits episode and everything to begin with. And we have a lot more science knowledge today than we did back in 64. It is what it is.
Right.
I like this story better than Duplicators, and I can see why Duplicators get ragged on a whole lot more than this film does. You gentlemen have any thoughts on this?
So go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, first of all, I think both films are definitely watchable. Like, they're not great, they're not terrible, but they're watchable. Um, yeah, Human Duplicators. Um, for me, it has a kind of Invasion of the Body Snatchers vibe in that,
That's what I thought. Yep, exactly what I thought.
Um, and it was cool to see Richard Keel. I mean, I thought he was one of the better parts of the movie, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah, he was.
It's pretty bad when Richard Keel is the best looking actor in the whole movie.
I didn't say he was the best looking actor, but okay.
Well, the scientist's daughter was, she was cute, but
it's like I would agree with Lewis that I think Mutiny in Outer Space is the better movie. For me, story-wise, Human Duplicators was tonally all over the place. Like, it didn't really know what it wanted to be. It was part like 60s spy movie with romance, or was it a sci-fi movie? It's like it felt like it had all these different genres that just didn't really mesh well together. Whereas Mutiny in Outer Space feels clearer tonally and plot wise, like
because they swiped it directly from the other show.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I also think that being filmed in black and white helped Mutiny in Outer Space.
Yeah, we're going to show that in just a second.
Um,
let me get to it. Oh, it's not here. Hold on a second. I'll find it. I know it's here somewhere because John sent it to me.
Yep.
This is what it. Mutiny was in black and white filmed, but they colorized the poster or some trading cards or something from it. And this is what the guy looks like with the fungus in color.
And see that, like, that doesn't look half as creepy as it does in black and white to me.
Right. Yeah, it's too garish.
Yeah. So, it was interesting that they did the painting like that, though, because I understand why they did that. I think this is a poster.
I think it's like a lobby card or something like that.
Or a lobby card, yeah, that could be. But yeah, they did the paintings over the black and white photos to do something cool with it, and it just didn't quite work.
Because in black and white, I looked at that, quote unquote fungus, and I was like, wait, is that moss? Is that like Attack of the Tree Moss?
yeah. It's something.
Or Attack of the Hairy Caterpillars? I don't know. Like, yeah, the fungus was just kind of laughable. Anything else to say, John?
No, I don't think so. So take it away.
Well, no, I agree completely that Mutiny was a much, much better pick. Everybody was much better looking. I swear, in the Human Duplicators, like everybody in the entire movie, except for the scientist's daughter, was like 60 and over.
No, they weren't.
Everybody just and Kolos. I'm sorry, yeah. Like, I think it was kind of comical that Kolos had a crush on the daughter there, or the niece, I guess it was, right?
Yeah.
And that saved everybody.
The question is, the real question is, when she touches her face and smiles, she was duplicated partially.
Yes.
But did they restore her eyesight? They didn't say, but that was kind of a hint. And you kind of wonder,
That's a good question. I didn't think about that.
And then that would be like the future, did they do anything, or was she really who? What? Yeah.
Right. And
She's half
you know,
android. She's half. You know.
did Kolos come back, and did they have little android babies? And
Well, Kolo supposedly just got teletransported. You know, it's like hello. And funny thing is that came out before Star Trek, so to see him get transported down, it's like, oh wow, it's transporter effect.
right. Yeah. I thought it was kind of funny. Yeah.
But it's so 60s. The whole thing is so 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you watch 60s spy films, when they talk to the women or about women, it's like, oh my God, it's so
Sexist
and so put down and everything. And I was like, why was this here in this? It just didn't fit
right
with the rest of the,
It's like,
and then,
see here, Martha, you're just a dame, so just sit down and be quiet.
yeah, or I'll fire you.
Yeah,
and, it's like,
don't you be back talking to me, Martha.
Yeah, but and yet, what are you talking about? Yeah, I actually read the report.
Yeah,
just, you did what? You mean you can read?
and as you were reading that last description of Mutiny, I just realized that the general says, "Don't lose your faith,"
Mm-hmm.
and her name's Faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just hit me. Like,
okay,
oh, okay.
It just took you a while. Okay.
Yeah, it just took me a minute.
Yeah, okay.
I was so enamored by the film and the special effects. It was incredible. I would put this on par with Aliens.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'd put this on par with Aliens and Dune.
Which Dune?
The original, of course.
Okay.
This is just right up there. Star Trek, Star Trek #3 with the blue whales. Yeah, that's
that's
right
Star Trek 4.
Is that 4? Okay, sorry, I get my tricks mixed up.
Actually, that would have worked because in Star Trek 4 they have to go around the sun to get the whiplash effect to go in time travel. So
right.
But anyway, but no. Yeah, anyway.
But it did have a better. These two movies did have a better plot than The Last Jedi.
Yes, that's true. Okay, so anyway, we get Chris or John and I gave the film 3.5 stars, and Chris gave it a 4. So he is actually, as much as he's mocking, he is being sincere at the same time.
Yeah, it was a much better story, and like I said, everybody was prettier. It was just easier to watch.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So that's pretty much it for tonight. Next week we have a fan poll. Please go to my Facebook group, Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, and pick one of these 4 films: The Black Hole from 1979, Dr. Sin, The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh from 1963, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad from 1973, or Dr. Terror's House of Horrors from 1965. The poll ends on Monday, and we'll figure out who the winner is, and we'll watch and review the winner for next week on March 14th.
Fantastic.
And people want to know what the poll looks like right now, I suppose. Where are we at with the poll? Let's find out. Oh, okay. It's not showing for some reason on my group. That's weird, isn't it?
Oh, did it get taken down again?
I don't know. That would be annoying if it did.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's there. Okay. We got 5 votes so far. 2 for Dr. Sin, 2 for Dr. Terror, and 1 for Sinbad. So if it happens to be a tie, then I will put the names into a randomizer program, and we'll pick one live on Monday's show, which will be our Monday manga show. And speaking of which, Monday manga next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking about Shigeru Mizuki's Katara. And then on Thursday next week, we'll review a lot of books, including Dragon Garage, Epitaph from the Abyss, Green Lantern Dark, Jump Scare, The Heart Switch, Digital Disciple, Carlos Arctis and the Eucharist, and Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and other stuff. We just got to figure out what was brought in from Chris's wife's place thrift store.
Right.
See what she brought in this time.
And are we going to say our special guest?
We don't
Oh,
know
no.
yet.
That's right. We're yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
For one thing, we don't know what's going on with him personally because of what just happened.
That's true.
And I told him that it would be better if we were going to promote him on Tuesday for our crowdfunding night. And I haven't heard back from him yet. But the main thing is his wife was in a car accident, and we want to make sure that that's all taken care of and she's okay first and foremost. So best wishes to Dave and Merrill on that.
Yeah, apparently she is doing okay.
Yeah. I've seen some updates, but I just
right.
We want to make sure
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So, but we'll worry about that next week.
And so right now David is dealing with the horror of insurance. Dun dun dun.
Do you have any? Does it matter? Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that was something. When I saw the photo of the car all smashed to heck, I didn't realize that Merrill was in the car.
Yeah, neither did I. I didn't even know really what was going on until he said something.
Yeah, I was like, what? Oh dear. I was a little bit worried. But anyway, that's all for now. You can reach me at Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, Lewis.BrightRaven at Facebook, at the Muskrat channel at Lewis Bright Rave 2. You can see my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. Please do us a favor and click on the like and subscribe buttons here on YouTube, Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. If you have questions or you have a suggestion of a movie you want us to review, Quoth the Raven LBR72@gmail.com is the place to email me at. If I don't answer, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And if I still don't answer, then I guess you got to go with one of these other two Yahoos. You can go to Chris at ChristopherMHall1973@gmail.com or John at GrayFigaro@hotmail.com. One of us will get a hold of you and respond, I'm sure.
Yep, I am usually available.
So, sorry about my camera being off to the side. I'm just not with it after what happened earlier.
Right.
Just moving things around. Yeah, I think that's all for now. So appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.
And for the love of all that is good, stay away from broccoli.